6 o'clock a.m., day 11 on a Saturday.
Good morning, it's day number 11. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning, a little after. Headed down to the Naval Air Museum at Pensacola, Florida. A couple hours riding away, 88 miles. I was going to stay at a Florida campground, but everything's showing is booked up. Given all that and the fact that after tomorrow I'd be heading north anyways up into Alabama, I decided to stay a second night here at Open Pond. So I just paid for another night's stay. Protect my spot. I left my tent. Hopefully it'll be there when I get back. And it was a very sultry night last night, so I slept more on top of my sleeping bag than in it. And then around 1 o'clock last night, there was some animal that decided to pay a visit in the brush next to my tent, which woke me up. And for several minutes I shone the light on it, on the brush, but couldn't see the animal. Finally got out of the tent, and he or she scurried away. I don't quite know what it was. It almost looked like a possum, but not really the same possums that I would see up north. So I'm not sure what that was, but I went back to sleep, and here we are. Super quiet night, other than the fact that it was sultry. Well, last time I was at the Naval Air Museum, I think I was on my Four Corners tour, and got turned away by the officer at the gate because it's within the confines of the Pensacola Navy Station because of COVID. The museum was open, but oddly it was open for military personnel and retirees, but not the general public. So I don't know why they thought that was like a good COVID protocol, but in any event, he turned me away rather gruffly. So I'm hoping to get in today. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. It opens at 9, so I should be there after it opens. Another gorgeous day. I think I was having trouble getting mobile reception last night. My wife said that the weather report today was highs of low 80s, so that would be cooler than yesterday, but we'll see. Passing into the Panhandle of Florida, Okaloosa County. This is the Black River State Forest that I'm riding through. Looks like it may have a recreation area too. Here at the Naval Air Station, Pensacola, Florida. All occupants must have ID ready. This time I got in, so this is supposed to be a really good museum. It's up here to the left, he said. Naval station is a huge naval station. National Naval Aviation Museum. Looks like quite a large complex. This is the anchor from the USS Antietam aircraft carrier, 1945 to 1973. Weighs a mere 30,000 pounds. 14A, sitting outside the front. Blue Angels, a Boeing FA-18 Hornet. Very cool. This plane became operational in 1983 at a top speed of 1,300 miles per hour and fly higher than 50,000 feet. Look at the landing gear on these things. Handle the shock of landing. Wow, it's crazy. This is the Ranger, first aircraft carrier built from the keel up to serve as such. 1934. This is the model of Wasp. Put service September 1st, 1939. Sunk off Guadalcanal 16th of September 1942 by a torpedo from the Japanese. We have a whole room full of aircraft carrier exhibits. This is the Intrepid floating down New York City on the Hudson River. That's a World War II Wildcat right there. This is a model of the Gerald R. Ford commissioned July 22nd, 2017. New class of nuclear-powered aircraft carriers. She produces 3 times the electricity of any previous carrier. She's got the new launching system, which doesn't use steam anymore. Uses magnetics. And the island is all the way back here at the stern, which I didn't realize. She uses 1,000 fewer personnel compared to the previous Nimitz class. This is a model of the USS Enterprise. It took somebody 20 years to build this incredibly complex model. Oh, well done. Look at all the tie downs on the deck. There are like 11,000 tie downs. This is a model of the first landed aircraft on board a ship, USS Pennsylvania, January 18th, 1911. And they actually designed a arresting cable weighed down by sandbags in order to bring the aircraft to a stop. It was the first time that someone successfully landed an aircraft on a ship, predecessor to aircraft carriers. This is the Curtiss MF boat, 1918 to 1922. The flotation hull on it. Actually flew in combat for some insurrection. The Navy acquired its Newport 28s from the Army after the end of World War I, and they experimented with trying to fly them off of battleships. This is the SC-5. Apparently those pontoons had to be drained of water after every landing on the water. This is the NC-4 Navy flying boat. Navy Curtiss is what NC stands for. They were called Nancy's. This is the acronym NC. It's first to make it across the Atlantic. This NC-4 is just huge. 3 engines. I don't know how many cylinders in each engine, but they are big engines. Well, it just so happens that they have an engine here. It's a Liberty 12-cylinder that powered the NC-4, and it was used on the May 1919 transatlantic flight of the NC-4. So Lieutenant Commander A.C. Reed commanded an NC-4, which the press labeled the Lame Duck, when it fell behind 2 other NC boats during the Navy's flight across the Atlantic in May 1919. Ironically, the Lame Duck was the only one to make it across, the first ever to accomplish this feat. This is all devoted to that first crossing of the Atlantic by an airplane. Difference, of course, between this flight and the Lindbergh flight is in Lindbergh flew it non-stop. He also flew it alone. This is the Curtiss Wright F-11C carrier-borne fighter bomber. 1 pilot. Maximum speed 205 miles an hour, ceiling 24,300 feet, and a range of 500 miles. This is cool because it shows a tearaway of the JN Jenny. Look how they use turnbuckles throughout in order to provide tension on the cabling that runs corner to corner. This is the famous Ford Trimotor. Navy acquired some of these. This is the Grumman FF-1, which had retractable landing gear and an enclosed cockpit to protect the men at high altitude from the cold. This particular F-3, F-2 fighter sank in 1940 and was recovered by the Navy in 1990 and refurbished. 60% of the aluminum skin had to be replaced, but it's remarkable the plane survived over 50 years on the bottom of the Pacific. This is an F-4 4F Wildcat. There were 300 warplanes that crashed into Lake Michigan during World War II as part of their training efforts. They actually had a simulated aircraft carrier. It was a paddle wheeler steamer converted to an aircraft carrier for practicing, and during practice they lost quite a few of the planes. This one was pulled off the bottom of Lake Michigan in December 1990 and refurbished. And of course this is the Wildcat, which fought against the Japanese in the Pacific. Atrium, 4 angels hanging from the ceiling. These are A4 Skyhawks. What a great presentation for the 4 aircraft in a diamond pattern. The first Grumman Cat F4F Wildcat. This is a B-25 Mitchell that was used by Doolittle. 16 aircraft that flew off of the carrier and attacked various sites within Japan shortly after the commencement of the war, just to show that the United States could fight back after Pearl Harbor. This particular aircraft is an SPD Scout Bomber Douglas Dauntless dive bomber in World War II, and it's one of the very few remaining, if not the only one remaining, that actually fought at the Battle of Midway. It was later transferred to the United States, where it served as a trainer and was one of the aircraft that ended up at the bottom of Lake Michigan, where it was recovered and then restored. This particular aircraft too was at Pearl Harbor, sitting on the ground when the Japanese attacked on December 7, 1941. So it's really incredible aircraft. Bomb shrapnel from the Midway Atoll, an artifact. The pieces of military history they have here are just, it's incredible, the quality of what they have. This is a 1940 Plymouth. In the restoration of all these is just, it's really hard to describe how beautiful this stuff is. This is a PBY Catalina Cutaway. How cool is that? Looking inside the PBY, they had bunks, they had a galley, navigation, communications up. This is a Corsair.
It's really expecting that you will always have close to my heart. I miss you guys.
This is a representation of aircraft sitting on the bottom of Lake Michigan. This is the PB-2Y Coronado, 4-engine beast. It's huge. The Lockheed Shooting Star TV2. F2H Banshee. F9F Cougar. The Messerschmitt Me-262. Not related to the Navy, but it was the world's first operational jet fighter. And if Germany had made more of them, the outcome of that war might have been different. But it came too late in the war, and they didn't have enough qualified pilots to fly them. But they took on the best aircraft that the United States could offer at that point in time. These guys just tore through the fighter protection on the bombers and could take down bombers as well as U.S. fighters. Here's a distance view of that PBY Catalina, and above it, there's one that is not cut away. The F7U Cutlass. Described the F-11F Tiger as the Navy's first true supersonic jet. The F-3H Demon, made by McDonnell Aircraft Corporation. The McDonnell Aircraft Corporation F-2H Banshee flew during the Korean War. This is still my favorite looking plane from World War II. Corsair. The gull wings. This is the RFAG Crusader. So I moved across to another hangar. An example of Marine One, VH-3 Sea King. It looks like Richard Nixon. I was wondering what the inside of one of these looked like. The SkyTrain was equipped with skis, so that we could fly down to the South Pole. So the F-8 Crusader has a unique feature. It was a variable incidence wing, made necessary by the cockpit's position far forward on the fuselage. Raising the wing allowed the pilot to lower the nose when approaching the carrier deck, enhancing visibility. So there's the mechanism that allowed the fuselage to drop below the wing, so you keep the same angle of attack by the wing that allowed the pilot to be able to see the landing deck. That's very clever. So the Sky Raider could actually carry more bombs, more ordnance, 8,000 pounds, compared to a B-17 Flying Fortress in World War II, which could only carry 6,000. Of course, the B-17 had 4 engines, and this only has 1 engine. So what a leap in technology. It was considered the finest close air support airplane during the Korea and Vietnam Wars because it had devastating firepower. Got the F-4 Phantom. This is the A-6 Intruder, another classic aircraft. This is the famous Prowler, whose responsibility was to provide jamming so that other U.S. aircraft could make it safely into target areas and return. And you can see the tactical jamming system pod down here underneath was actually powered by the spin of the rotor up there in the front. F-14 Tomcat. The plane was assembled in November 1980. Its last flight was in April 2006. Of course, the Tomcat was made famous by the movie Top Gun with Tom Cruise. This is the FA-18 Hornet, used during Desert Storm. And you get the twin engines on the F-18. This is a Super Cobra attack helicopter. First flew in February 1993, all the way until November 2019, where it logged almost 6,000 flight hours, including combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan. Your aircraft taking off and landing nearby. The mask, fins, and web belt were worn by an underwater demolition team during the recovery of Apollo 11, the mission that landed man on the moon. This is some gear associated with Captain Gene Cernan. Flew as pilot of Gemini 9, lunar module pilot of Apollo 10, commander of Apollo 17. He holds the distinction of flying to the moon not once but twice. Holds the distinction of being the second American to walk in space and the last man to have left his footprints on the lunar surface. At least up to this point in time. All right, this hangar was really nice. I'm going to head back to the main building and go up to the second floor. I don't see these anymore. Recreation of a 1940s small town USA.
We interrupt the program now in progress to bring you a special report from Guam.
A Hellcat being worked on. It's a recreation aboard a carrier. It's interesting, similar to the flight deck, the hangar deck has a mock-up of space available with the aircraft so that they can decide how to move aircraft around within the confines of the space. Here's an example of a life raft. When I was growing up, my dad had a World War II surplus inflatable, but it looks like made of the same material, the canvas, rubberized canvas. It was terrible. It used to leak like a sieve compared to the Hypalon ones that are made today. This is the lobby where I started my tour. That is a Japanese Mitsubishi Zero from World War II. Here's a view of that Corsair. It's a world-class museum, there's no doubt about it. It is almost 2:20, a little after 2:20 in the afternoon. Got 2 hours of riding plus a stop at a grocery store, so I think I'm just going to start heading back to Alabama. This is kind of the most southern part of my trip. I am going to head a little bit further west as I go north, but as far south as I'm going to go on this particular venture. Quick stop into Florida, back into Alabama. Well, assuming my tent is still there, we still have to set that up. Yeah, I can see it. Looks like there's at least one other person there, but that's about it. Maybe two? No, one. Kind of where the motorcyclist was yesterday. Time for dinner. So I need to get water. I don't know that I've ever shown this. This is my Hydro Pack, and it fits into a nice little case. So it's a vinyl bag of some sort, 3 liters, which is plenty for me in terms of doing dishes and stuff like that. So I'm going to hike on across and see if I can get some water. There it is, filled up with 3 liters of water. Got my mosquito repellent running tonight. Got bit last night a few times pretty badly. All right, time to set up my stove and get cooking. Okay, admittedly pretty Spartan, but that's what I get for being here in southern Alabama, out in the countryside. So that is my dinner, and it is what time? 6:15.